A few months ago, I quit my full-time job and so did my wife. I expected it to be liberating, and it was, but it was also really scary. After 10 years in sales and psychology, guess who does which? Together, we walked away from over $200,000 per year. So why are we doing this, and how can we possibly afford those regular trips to Paris and Santorini? The truth is, there's no guarantee we're going on trips like that anytime soon. However, what we plan to do is so much more exciting, and I know many of you will agree. Like you, we're not the same people we were many years ago. I've grown out of stuff, I'm interested in new subjects, and I appreciate completely different things in life. Unsurprisingly then, we no longer got the same happiness and satisfaction from the jobs and lifestyles we started chasing when we were 18. So we're doing something about it, because life's too short to be unhappy. We're saying goodbye to our old lifestyles and starting a more exciting and fulfilling chapter in our lives. If you want the same thing but you're struggling to get out of the fast lane and perhaps you don't know where to start, then here's the carefully thought out steps that we're taking, and you can do them too. So the first step is simply to realise what would make you happier. And to be honest, it's actually not as simple as it sounds. Many of you might think you know what you want, but really think about it. So many of us just chase after things because other people want it. It's a lose-lose. You're sad if you don't get it, but you'll waste all your time achieving somebody else's goal, and that won't make you happy anyway. Figure out what makes you tick and what you want to achieve. There's probably hundreds of things you'd like to have, but let's boil it down. For me, I wanted more time with my wife, I wanted to travel, and I wanted a creative outlet. Simple. So once you've done that, the second step is to notice what's stopping you from having these things. Again, for me, it was obvious. It was a lack of time. And the reason I had no time was because I spent it all at work. So once you've realized what's stopping you, that means we've established our goal and figured out what's in our way. So the third step is deciding if it's worth making the changes needed to remove this blocker and help you achieve what it is you're looking for. For example, the thing blocking my path was my job in sales. So I simply compared what I would lose versus what I would gain if I quit my job. Firstly, it was clear all I cared about losing from my job was the money. Yet, if giving most of that up meant having more time with my family whilst pursuing a more creative path that would allow me to travel, then I decided it was 100% worth it. Of course, I still needed money. So for step 4, I simply calculated how much I needed to afford the necessities and the things I just really didn't want to give up. This is such a great exercise. It's kind of like having a summer clear out. But rather than getting rid of stuff you don't need, you're cutting expenses from your lifestyle. I realized I was willing to scale back on almost everything if it gave me more time with my family and a lifestyle of creativity and travel. Remember, the lower you get your expenses down, the less scary it will be to make these changes. You'll also give yourself more time to build that dream lifestyle in case your new income stream takes a little while to get going. And honestly, don't worry, if you plan correctly, it'll be easier than you think to make enough money to achieve your goals. So that takes us on to step 5, and that's figuring out how you'll make enough to cover the cost of your new lifestyle. Unless you really hate your job, I think it's important that you make this plan before you quit. Take a day or so to think of what kind of work would fit into this perfect new lifestyle. Before deciding, take a couple more days over the next few weeks to look into these options more seriously and reflect on whether this really is the right way forward. By the way, this is also something you should probably do before you get a tattoo. To help you decide, here's a few questions to ask yourself before you choose your new moneymaker. Firstly, what are the odds of you making enough money from this? Secondly, how long could it take before you start earning from it? Do you have the skills? Are you self-motivated? Lastly, could your skills perhaps be better suited to something else? My advice here is to listen to your head as well as your heart, and it's vital when deciding your new path. For example, if you want to be your own boss, but you can barely motivate yourself to do the basics, then be honest, you might be better off in employment. That doesn't mean you can't change jobs to one that brings you more happiness. If you simply follow your heart with no regard for your abilities, then you're kind of no different from those tone-deaf people we see chasing their dreams every year on talent shows. When doing this for myself, I came up with a few options and I decided, wait for it, on pursuing my dream as a writer. The odds of me writing a hit book or screenplay are very low. However, the payoff is so huge that for me it seems kind of like a fairly calculated risk, especially given I love writing and I can do it whilst I travel. That said, whilst I work towards that goal, I still need to achieve the income that I calculated in step 4. Therefore, I'm still doing part-time sales work as a freelancer whilst I transition into my long-term career as a writer. I've also decided to start this YouTube channel as it allows me to write, I'm able to do it from anywhere, and and although ambitious, it is probably more realistic than writing a hit movie, or at least I hope so. Plus, I have managed to build a stock portfolio from $20,000 to almost $100,000 over the past 6 years, and that's something that a lot of people do ask me questions about. I'm actually in the top 1% of investors around the world, and that includes professionals and hedge fund managers. So with this channel, I'll be sharing my investment ideas from stocks to property and great ways you can save a lot of money. It honestly shocks me how few people know about these methods. And given I'm traveling around the world, I'll be sharing some travel clips showing you how to enjoy and save money in the cities we're visiting. I'm spending 3 months in Japan soon, and I'll be sharing everything I learned on that trip. So if you're like me and you always wanted to visit Japan, then there's another reason to subscribe. How about if you like and subscribe, I pinky promise to send you free cinema tickets to my future hit movie. If you like rom-coms and Jordan Peele films, then hopefully you'll love it. Just leave a comment on this video so you can prove that you're an early subscriber to this channel. Back to the final step of the process though, step 6, and that is to go for it. So you've realized you can be happier, you figured out what it is you want, you've acknowledged the changes and sacrifices you have to make. Firstly, give yourself some credit. Most people don't even realize they can be happier and never even complete step 1. But you've started already. In fact, you're most of the way there. What's left is the execution, but if you're doing something you enjoy or at least working towards a dream, then everything from here is it. If you've done these steps correctly, then everything from here should be either exciting or relaxing, challenging, whatever it is that you're looking for. Cutting those final ties and going for it is technically the easiest step of the whole process, yet for everybody, it's the hardest step. It 100% was for me. The amount of times I had a great idea, I planned, I fantasized, I told myself I was going to do it, but when the time came, I just couldn't. Stepping into the unknown is scary, but how many things have you done in life that scared you yet were the making of you? Whether it's asking somebody to dance, getting a flight, striking a conversation with a stranger who later ended up becoming your best friend. We stop taking risks as we get older because we get comfortable or sometimes uncomfortable, but either way, we get stuck in a routine that we just don't want to be in. Whilst you're aware of these feelings, make that change or you'll probably fall back into that routine. I did it so many times. I can tell you from experience, if you're unhappy with your job or whatever you're doing now, imagine what you'll feel like once you've been doing it for another year, 2 or 3. Don't find yourself here again in 6 months' time wishing you had gone for it. Instead, you could be living your dream or at least working towards it. In fact, either of those are fantastic outcomes. If you found this video interesting, I just ask you like or subscribe. It really will help me on my own journey, and I'll continue to give you updates and try and support you on yours. Remember, leave me that comment, and who knows, maybe I'll see you at the premiere.